Hi, my name is Robert Smith, CEO of Spire Group. I'm here to give you a brief tour of our Scheduler Power software. In this short video, I'd like to show you how this easy-to-use scheduling and daily progress reporting software works. The product opens in the login screen. The person logging in will automatically be taken to screens and data they are permitted to access. In this case, a supervisor will be opening a scheduler to see a blank scheduling screen. Here you can see the main scheduling screen. Companies that have ERP systems such as SAP can upload information from that system directly into the scheduler. There are a number of ways to accomplish this task. By clicking on Upload SAP, we can see a menu of choices. Many times, companies enter information into their scheduler directly from a tabular list produced by SAP. This is painstakingly slow, detailed, and prone to errors. Better ways to do it are with the direct link into SAP, where we can populate this week's schedule, next week's schedule. We can pick a start time and end time, and we can upload various files into SAP from that type of technique. However, we're going to use the one-click method of entering next week's schedule directly into the scheduler from SAP. Here you see the information that has populated, the work order number, the work order type, the priority that's been pre-assigned as a 1, which can be modified, the location of the work center that's been identified, the start date and time of the work, the number of resources required, and the planned number of hours for each task. Here you can see the initial Gantt chart that's been generated by the system. What we need to do is populate our resources from those lists of available resources that can do the job. Here in our resource allocation pop-up, we can see the various resources that are available. Those that are available on the day shift when this work is to be started, those that have the correct work center designation, and those that are not previously allocated on other work can be chose. So in this case, the artificial intelligence has predicted that these people are available from the shift with the proper work center identification. So if we select the 3 that are identified on the predetermined schedule, we can see that it increases their utilization from 0 to 50%, that it schedules them for the 4 hours on each of these tasks. And by clicking OK and saving that information, we can now see that the resources have been allocated to that task. 3 of them in summary form, and then by hovering we can see the individuals from the day shift with the correct work center designations. Here we have a second task that needs to be allocated. In the same way, if we go in there, we can attempt to defeat the system by selecting the same resource that's already been allocated for the first task. And what you can see here is that that 12-hour allocation is on top of what has already been allocated for the first task. This, when we select OK and save in an attempt to override the system, which can be done, we have taken our resource and over allocated that resource so that we can see within the task we've generated a warning. And below here we can also see that for that particular date and this particular resource, we have generated a 12-hour requirement for someone scheduled to work an 8-hour shift. So again, we have a highlighted warning here. So we can go back in to our allocation table, open that up, and remove this individual. And we can go back and find another day shift individual. And there are 2 of them that are required on this particular task. We'll select both of those. It shows that they are now 100% allocated for that day with 8 hours of work. If we accept that, save the changes, we'll now see that we have those 2 resources selected for that task. So we have scheduled the 2 jobs and allocated available resources with a couple of clicks, and we can see the resulting chart, the resulting allocation of hours. We can see what their plan versus capacity percentage is, and we haven't started to accrue any hours yet, so we're still showing 0 actual hours and percentages. We have the ability to look at this from a day's perspective, or we can also drill down into more detail and see these jobs in a hour-by-hour perspective. Here, in the case of this job that has been allocated here, we can see the shift start time, and we can see the hours that have been assigned to it on our day shift. We can see our break time and any amount of detail. If we wanted to zoom out and look at this in a longer perspective, we could do that by using the zoom tools. We'll go back to the day, look at this. The other possibility that we can see is that we would show the resources in a resource view so that we could get a real good understanding of that resource allocation by looking at individuals by work order that are assigned to them. We can also see how that overlaps in our Gantt chart. When we get into more and more work orders, it becomes much more viable to look at this resource view and understand what we see going on. We'll go back to the Gantt chart view. In some cases, jobs are dependent one upon the other. If we had to get the first task done before the second one, we can set a dependency just as easily as checking those 2 tasks that are dependent one upon the other, and we can see then that our time goes out and the start time becomes something that happens in the afternoon on this job rather than in the morning by that dependency that's been created. And similarly, by just clicking, selecting, and clicking again on dependency, we can remove that information from that view. Once the schedule has been created, we can go in and generate a daily report, a weekly report. To generate the daily report, we'll open the reporter, look at the day that we would like to generate the report, click download, and here we can see the daily report that's been generated by work order, by task, task duration, and the individual resources that have been assigned to the job for that day. So if we go in and generate a weekly report, however, we can see that in fact there are estimated hours generated. There are the various work orders and tasks that those hours are generated for, and we can see the spread of those hours over the various days of the week with the totals, the actuals, and once the jobs begin to be reported on, we can see percent complete to schedule. Once the information begins to roll up into the database, we can go in as a supervisor or as a other member of leadership, and we can access the short interval control and metrics dashboard that gives us real-time data so that we can see any of the selected KPIs. There's over 30 of them that are built into the system that allow us to see exactly what we're accomplishing from one day to the next. The system can populate these important KPIs by yesterday's information, last week's information, last month's. We can go week to date, month to date, year to date. Again, we can select a particular time frame from and to, and we can search for that information. Once this information has been compiled from our daily progress reporting, we can also see delay summary information, work orders that have experienced delays. In this case, we're showing all of these work orders are on schedule with no delays, but in the event that we were to see delays, the locations, the equipment components, the delay description, the actions to be taken, etc., are all displayed here quickly in summary form for the supervisor to keep track. If we go back to our scheduler, we then have the opportunity to log out and explore other options within the system. In particular, a contractor doing work on one of these jobs would not have the same visibility of the scheduling system, but they would have the ability to go in and generate daily progress reports of their work. Here we see the daily progress report that this individual has been assigned to. If we pull up the work order for that information, we can see that this contract electrician, journeyman, has been given a task to inspect a motor and fix a motor. In the event that he was experiencing some type of a delay, he can immediately enter the delay here in the delay tracker, and it will populate that previous metric screen that we were looking at. For example, he may say that he has a burned motor. He's going to replace motor, and at the end of the day he can say he has in fact replaced the motor. That information would then be tracked. The delayed start time and end times would be captured, populated into the delay tracker, and we could see if there was any impact on schedule. Other information can be easily entered into the daily progress reporting system, such as any equipment that might be required to do the job, such as trucks or cranes or other pieces of equipment. Material might be selected, necessary or not. And in fact, the system can even keep track of the cost of the various information. Cost and other detailed information may or may not be available to the individuals using the system based on configuration rules. Once the daily progress report has been completed, it can be closed and sent immediately to the supervisor in charge with a note of some kind if necessary, DPR for the day. That is sent off to the supervisor and has been now put into the supervisor's internal mail so that he can act on anything that needs approvals, rejections, or any other input that's required. When the contractor or individuals in the field want to submit a field ticket for the work completed that day or that week, they can easily, with one click, generate a field ticket. The field ticket will show all of the information for that particular work order, that task that's been completed. It can be converted into a PDF file and immediately submitted again to the supervisor for approval. Once that work is done, the individual can log out and the system has captured all that information. So that's a brief summary of the scheduler and daily progress reporting capabilities in Scheduler Power. If you have any requests for additional information or would like a live demo, please don't hesitate to contact us in the information displayed on the screen. Thank you very much.